Sup YouTube family, sup Phoenix gang, it's your boy King Abe. Welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys an insane, simple and profitable scalping strategy. That's what I'm going to be showing you guys in today's video. So if this is your first time on my channel and if you find value in this video, give this video a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and turn on the bell notification so you guys don't miss any of my future videos. So now without further ado, let's jump on the charts and let's get this video started, and I will see you guys inside. We're going to be looking at this strategy on the 15-minute time frame. And before I actually get into this video, if you guys want access to my signals on Discord, the link is going to be down below in the description. All you have to do is just click the link down below and you guys will definitely get access to my signals on Discord. So now, when we want to use this scalping strategy, I recommend using this strategy on the 15-minute time frame, and make sure you only focus on trading on the New York session and the London session, or just New York session or the London session. Now we're not going to be trading the Asian session at all. So for this strategy right here on my chart, I have this indicator. It's called trading session. So once you add it onto your chart, you go here to settings, and for the style you only check the London session and the New York session, and you can also change the colors if you want to. And here for the input, you uncheck Asian session and you check London session and the New York session. Now when it comes to your time zone, it's definitely going to be different from mine because my time zone is central, yours might be Pacific or Eastern. So make sure you change those to your time zone so that everything can match correctly. And the default settings for the time zone here is Eastern Standard Time, so EST. So if your time zone is Eastern, then you don't need to touch none of this at all. You just need to uncheck Asian session. But if your time zone is Pacific Standard Time or whatever time zone, then you need to make sure you change the time zone to corresponds with your time zone. So once you're done, then you click on OK. Now right here I have this white background here. This is my Asian session and this is my London. I have my London session, New York session, and this is also New York session as well. This gray background, this is New York section going into the New York Stock Exchange session. So this is still New York section as well. We have London, then New York session. So now what we need to focus on before we get in the trade is, if you're watching this and you know how to identify your highs and your lows, man, congratulations, because this strategy is absolutely going to work for you, man. This strategy is just simply insane and it's just amazing. As long as you focus on trading either the London session or the New York session, then this strategy is absolutely going to work for you, and it works on all pairs, crypto, indices. It works on everything. Just use it on the 15-minute time frame. So now, looking at the Asian session, we need to figure out our highs and the lows of the Asian session. And here we have a low here, we have the low in the Asian session here. So this is our low for Asian session, and we have our high for Asian session right here. So we have a high for Asian session right there, and we have a high here for Asian session as well. So as you can see here, now we have those zones. Now we've identified our highs and our lows for Asian session. Now coming into London session, this is the time for us to sit down and wait for our entry to take whatever position, be it a buy position or a sell position. But during this London session, we can see here that price broke the high, the low of the Asian session. Now, once we see that price broke the low of our Asian session, now it's time for us to get in your sell position. Now, when it comes to getting into your trade, getting into a trade is going to depend on you. You can use the break and retest strategy, or you can use the break above resistance or break above support, meaning break above your high or break above your low, and you just get in your position. So your entry is going to depend on you. For me, I'm just going to get in right here once we have the break below support right there, and I'll have my stop loss right above, and I'll give it more room. So I'll give it more room. So we're looking at about excuse me guys, we're looking at about 23 pips. Now, when it comes to my take profit, before we figure out what our take profit is, let's put this in replay mode. Actually, no, we're not going to put it in replay mode because I want you guys to see, because I'm going to show you guys, different examples here to let you guys know that this strategy definitely could work for you. So now we have our entry. Now, to figure out where our take profit is going to be, now for me, I just got to look to the left hand side to figure out where my entry is going to be, and all I have to do is to look for the low here on the Asian session, and we have a low here. I can target the low of the Asian session, and if I want to have multiple take profits, I can target the previous high as well. So we can see this high was actually, first high was during the New York session, and we had another high here during the Asian session. The price eventually broke it when New York session opens, and then you guys can see we had a bullish momentum. So now we have this take profit here, and if you want more take profit, you just got to look to the left hand side here, and you can see we have another low here during the New York session, and we can target that as well. So if you have more than one take profit, I always recommend that you make sure you move your stop loss to entry price whenever your take profit gets smashed. And if we look at this here, we can see that our first take profit is just going to be for, let's see here, let's move this a little bit. So our first take profit is going to be for 15 pips. Once that gets smashed, you just move your stop loss to your entry price, and right here we have another take profit here, 26 pips right there, and down here we have another take profit here for 44 pips, and your stop loss is just 24 pips. So altogether your risk to reward ratio is actually 1:8. And if you don't want to use multiple take profit, you can just use one take profit and just anticipate that price is eventually going to get to this previous low here. We had a low here during the London session, another low here during the New York session, and price created another low during the New York session as well. So you can just anticipate that price is going to get to this zone, because at the end of the day, price eventually has to fill up all this right here. Price has to fill up all these candles. So price eventually has to fill up all these candles right here to the left hand side. So it has to fill up all these candles here to the left hand side. It has to do the same thing here on the right hand side eventually. So you can just target that zone all the way down here and just just fill your stop loss. That strategy is just going to depend on you. So this is how you use this strategy for a sell position. Now if we keep looking here, so let's delete all of this, let's keep looking. Now this is another day. Now we on to the next day. Now we have, during New York session, we have a high here. Now each setup is definitely going to be different. They're not all going to be the same. As long as you identify your highs and your lows, then you'll be good to go. So we have a high during New York session and we have a low during Asian session. So now we've identified our highs and our lows. Now since we've identified our highs and our lows, we have a high here during New York session, and coming into Asian session, we can see that price created another high here during the Asian session. So now come London session, for this you can see the setup is different from the first one. So for this, now I can see that now this right here became a demand zone right here. This became a demand zone, and we have a supply zone here at the top. Now once I see this rejection, once you see these rejections here and what the price do during New York session, so what I'll do, for me, I'll wait for price to break this high here. I'll wait for price to break this previous high that was also created during Asian session right there, and I'll have my entry right here at this bullish engulfing candle. This is where my entry is going to be, and for my take profit, now I have all my zones already. My first take profit is absolutely going to be this zone here, because as you can see, we have a high here. Price created a high during Asian session, so this is our high right here. So I'm going to have my take profit right here, and as you can see, price obviously got to my take profit zone for let me make sure I get this correctly, for 31 pips, and I'll just have my stop loss right below my zone. I'll give it a little bit of room. We're looking at 17 pips, and we have that right there. Now I have my first take profit. Once that gets smashed, I can then move my stop loss to entry price if I have multiple take profit, or I can just have one take profit. Now if I have multiple take profit, obviously I have my 31 pips right there. Now this is another zone right here. We have another high here during New York session. We're looking at 43 pips right there. But if you had moved your stop loss to entry price, you would have been stopped out of this trade, which is good. Now you made some money during London session. Now onto New York session. So obviously now during London session, we just move this right here. We can say now during London session, price created, this is our high right here. We have, so this is our high right here during London session. Now then we have our low. We have our low right here. Now during London session, during Asian session, and then during New York session, what did price do? Price came back and retested that same zone. Let me make sure, let me do this correctly. So price came back and retested that same zone again. Now we can have our entry here during New York session, because we still have this previous high here. Now we can see, because it's also a low right here during London session, because we have a rejection. Now right over here, I'll have my entry. You can have your entry right here. Now this is you trading in between supply and your demand zone. That's why I said each setup is definitely going to be different. If you don't want to do it this way, you can just use the breakout strategy. So we're in New York session. So I'll just get in. Excuse me, guys. So you have your entry right here, because this is definitely a rejection. Price refused to break this zone here. And now if we look to the left hand side, I know that eventually price has to fill up these candles here on the right hand side here, and that's exactly what price did. So during New York session, you can have your entry, your take profit right over here. You're looking at 37 pips, and for your stop loss, you just target it below this zone here. Give it, just give it a little bit, of breathing room. We're looking at 22 pips. Your risk to reward ratio is 1-to-6. Now you just made money during the London session, and you made money during the New York session. And if you only trade in one session, either London or New York session, then obviously you can see you absolutely made you some money as well. And at the same time, you don't have to have your take profit all the way to the previous high. You can just target maybe 10 pips, 15 pips, 20 pips, whatever you want to do. That depends on you. I'm just showing you guys, where your take profit can actually be, because your highs and your lows, those can also be your take profit zone. So that's what I'm showing you guys here as well. So now this is for the New York session. Now we don't need all this. We don't need Asian session at all. Now come here. This is going to be the last example that I'm going to be showing you guys. Now if we look at this, now we in Asian session, we see that over here price created a high. We had a high here. This was a high during the Asian session. We have a high here during the Asian session. Then we have one here, and we also have a low. This was Asian session low right here. So we have Asian session low right there. And now come London session. Now for me, during this London session, I'm not getting in any trade at all. Why? Because I would have been expecting price to reject this zone, this previous Asian session low. I would have been waiting for price to reject this zone, but in this case we didn't have no rejection. Price didn't even get to the previous Asian session low. So for me, I'm not going to trade London session. I'm just going to be waiting for New York session. And over here, if we look, we had the previous Asian session right over here. We had the previous Asian session right here, and we have the previous high of Asian session as well. So we have these highs right over here. So this high here, I would have been expecting price to break the previous high and then hopefully continue going bullish. But in this case, price didn't do that at all, because price decided to reverse. Price decided to reverse during New York Stock Exchange open, which is 9 a.m. my time. If you guys look down here, you can see that this was, let's see what time this was. Price reversed exactly at 9 a.m. No, actually, let's see. It reversed at 8 a.m. my time. New York session opens at 7, so it reversed at 8 a.m. my time. So for me, with my strategy, that's why no strategy works 100% of the time. For me, I would have actually lost this trade, because since we have this break right over here, I would have been waiting. Once we have the break, I would have got in this buy position and this would have been a loss. But even though I lost this trade, this New York open trade, now because I'm looking at the chart and I can see that now my bias was actually wrong, then I had another opportunity to get into this sell position because I have all my conditions met. My first bias was wrong because at the end of the day, the market is always going to do what it wants to do. So now I'll have my entry. Since that was wrong, my first bias was wrong. Now once I see this, because I have price broke the previous high of the Asian session, then I'll have my entry right below this zone right here. Take a sell position right there, and I'll have my stop loss right above my previous high. I'll just give it more room. So we're looking at 15 pips in this case, and I'll just have my take profit target. I'll target the previous low of the New York session and the Asian session. I'll just target that zone right there. We're looking at 40 pips, and if I'm looking to take, more take profit, all I gotta do is just look to the left hand side and I can target this low, and I'll aim to target this low here during the London session. During the London session, that would be another take profit target for me. And if we drag this all the way down here, we're looking at excuse me guys, we're looking at 75 pips altogether. And once you have your first take profit smashed, just move your stop loss to entry price, and then you can trail your stop loss from there. And even though we have our zone for our first take profit zone, we're looking at about 40 pips. Now you can always target 20 pips as your first take profit, in between these zones here. You have that for 20 pips, because at the end of the day, when it comes to scalping, we're just trying to get in and we're trying to get out the trade. That's all we're trying to do. And you have 22 pips right there. And then you had another take profit here for 40 pips, and then we had another zone all the way down here for 75 pips right there. So guys, this is exactly excuse me guys, this is exactly how you use this strategy for scalping. So if you guys find value in this video, all I ask is that you give this video a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and turn on the bell notification so you guys don't miss any of my future videos. And also guys, remember, make sure you try this strategy on a demo account, and I promise you guys, when you do try it on a demo account, you will see that if you use it exactly like this, as long as you know how to identify your highs and your lows, this strategy is definitely going to work for you. If you don't know how to identify your highs and your low, meaning your support and resistance or supply and demand, then you have to make sure there are a lot of videos on YouTube that you can watch. And then once you're able to identify your highs and your lows, then you can come back and watch this video, and you will not be disappointed. So guys, that's it for me. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.